Well, for a moment, we're crossing back here to studio. We know over the past few days, of course, the NBC has been at the forefront of bringing the nation live and comprehensive coverage of the late founding President Dr. Sam Nujoma's final journey. Now, as we approach the final stretch that will lead to his burial that's taking place on Saturday, the 1st of March, we are now joined here in studio by the Director General of the NBC, that is Mr. Stanley Similo, to reflect on how the coverage has gone so far, and of course what Namibians can expect in the next few coming days. Mr. Similo, good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, good afternoon, Nina, and welcome, and thank you for having me on the show.
Lovely having you with us. Now, as I mentioned, the NBC has comprehensively been covering the different processions that has happened across the country, across the regions. How's the coverage gone so far, Mr. Similo, and what has been some of the key moments that we've been able to capture?
Yeah, I think first of all, maybe let me just salute and thank the NBC staff for commitment shown beyond the call of duty. And at the same time also recognize the supports that we've been receiving from the NDF throughout in helping us to make sure that we tell and narrate a story that is as precise as can be. But equally also recognizing our technical partners who've been able to make our broadcast possible here. I'd like to reference Telecom, Namibia, MTC, and Paratus, the Senerets, and the Norets. These are all the entities that has helped us to make sure that we bring connectivity both from a radio and a radio, television, and online experience,
right,
to the extent that people would feel part and parcel of what was happening and still happening in the country. When reflecting on where we started, I think it started off quite well for us. We were thrown into the thick of things, and we really just had to make do. And as I said a couple of week or two back, is that with this, Namibians were expecting the best and nothing less. And if I reflect now on what we have done, I'm very proud of my team. I'm very proud of what Namibia has been doing. And I'm also very proud of how Namibians have been embracing everything that we've done, because we really have been able to go with them, take them into the house of the founding, to their families, and also sharing how all of us, in a way, have been able to interact, and people sharing very intimate stories about how they got to know the founding, and equally how he has sort of like changed their lives for better. So for us, I believe, starting from the residency in terms of coverage, moving into the regions, all of them, those that have been identified as the ones where government would have formal memorial services, but also linked to those that had their own. We have even been able to be there, following literally the casket as it was moving, getting that connectivity and making sure that people could connect at a very deep level. I think the NBC has done well on that score.
I have to agree with you on that. And of course, covering, a national event of this magnitude doesn't come without challenges. Yes, we had a sort of a practice run last year with the passing of Dr. Hage Geingob, but it's starkly different from this time around. As you mentioned, we had to go and cover, the memorial services that were happening in the regions as well. So let's talk about the logistical and technical challenges that comes with executing an event of this nature.
Well, I've been privy to be sitting on one or two of the committees that have been arranging how the program will pan out for the whole of the country. And then immediately soon after that, I would come brief the teams to say that, look, these are the expectations. This is what we would need to do. And one of our immediate challenges would be moving from one region to the other, making sure that in terms of us continuing this to tell the story, that there is no break, there is no lack.
It's seamless.
Yes, and I think we've done that, and we've been having what I would term the advanced teams that would be already in a region. By the time in the morning we have to start there, the transition would then come from the previous area where we would be straight into that one. And My realization is just that from a broadband connectivity perspective, that's most probably something that the country will need to look into, because in terms of what we do from a broadcast perspective, we do need that connectivity. And this has highlighted that in some areas, the signals are not as strong as they would be. And this has highlighted it. But be that as it may, we've been able to bring the stories so that people can actually live real time in terms of what was happening. And also with the Colonel, I think we will ask him to leave NDF and come and work for the NBC. He's been able to tell us on a daily basis, really sharing with us what is happening, what this means. And that's the kind of detail that we could go into. So for us, radio, TV, and online, and also part of the TikTok news element of what NBC does. I mean, us going into the YouTubes, going live, the Facebook connectivities, and us getting programs from abroad, South Africa, the UN, Ghana, in America. You look at these things, and then it sort of like gets to you like, it's almost like the founding father was larger than life. Because the things that we've been learning, also just from a historical history perspective, there's so much that we've been learning. I've made it a point at my house that my kids had to sit, listen, hear, absorb, so that they can really appreciate this thing that says, I am African, I am Namibian, I'm a child of the founding father. And that appreciation, I think, has come through quite strongly.
Indeed it has. You mentioned earlier how, of course, we're spread across all the social media platforms. We're now on TikTok, we stream live on YouTube, we've got our NBC Plus app. So we're making sure that Namibians, not only at home, but also abroad, are staying connected to these historic moments. Talk to us about how these platforms have served us in getting our messages across.
They've worked wonderful. Like, for instance, just the YouTube connectivity. Literally, we could connect anybody where they would be. NBC Plus on its own, I was speaking earlier on to the Chief Commercial Officer who is driving and understanding how NBC Plus is doing. Because remember, in some phones you go direct and others you go through a browse-linked connectivity. And we've been getting good numbers. But on top of that, people are so tuned to their radio stations. Mind you, we can also speak to people in languages that they speak at home through the plethora of stations that we are having from a radio perspective. And equally, from an NBC television perspective, and I said it before, it can't get better than the NBC. We are here. This is what we are doing. And someone was asking the other day, you guys, who's helping you? Point is, it's us. We are doing these things. We are learning every day because, remember, broadcasting is what we do.
Yes.
This is the only thing that we know best. This is the only thing where we can say what we do here, this is who we are. And I believe that we've delivered for the past couple of weeks.
Indeed. It does seem like we actually are covering every nook and cranny. You mentioned, of course, you're watching this morning as well as the procession took place through Independence Stadium and past, of course, the SWAPO headquarters, where there was a brief program that happened, the unveiling of the statue, and which will now be known as the Sam Nujoma Square, and the footage and the shots that came from there were absolutely marvelous. So the expectation, of course, leading up until Saturdays is quite high. Talk to us about, what the nation can expect from the NBC in terms of coverage.
Look, you would have seen marvelous shots from drones and all of those. And I was informed that MICT has also been giving us great help. And one or two of the staff have been operating the drones, also assisted by the NDF. They have their own. We have been able to give and create magic whilst we're in the state of mourning, but we've also been saying that we should also celebrate a life well lived. So on that score, I think we have been able to literally speak to everybody in whatever way they would have been connecting. Now, tomorrow is the big memorial, which will be at Independence. we are as ready as can be. Today already you have seen with the processions as it was going through Windhoek, into India, packed with people. It is just amazing because I personally got the feeling of when independence was declared. That's the element of excitement, jubilation that I got. We had then tears of happiness. We had tears of not knowing what to do. But today you could see that people were really connecting at a level just different. And so was it for all the areas where we went to within the region. Remember, the NDF was generous enough to allow us to form part of the convoy.
Yes.
Through that, we could take people and make them part from a television perspective. And radio has been broadcasting this, speaking to people in the languages that they understand. I think we literally catered for everybody. So for tomorrow at the Independence Stadium, we are as ready. We are aware what is expected from us. That will be a controlled environment, so it will make broadcasting relatively stable, very stable. Yeah. But you can never take chances, so we had to build in some elements of redundancy as well, so that in the event something goes wrong, that you have a plan B through which you can get to. Naturally, Saturday, the actual burial is also a tricky one because it is linked to a procession.
Yes.
And then once at Heroes Acre as well, people want to see what is happening. So we have already worked out with our technical partners to make sure that our connectivity from a relay perspective, that it happens without fail. So my teams, technically, the producers, the directors, the makeup artists to make us look good on TV, all of them, the sound people, the camera persons, the ones that are directing the shows, be it in studio or otherwise. I think people have been working tirelessly around. I mean, some people wake up at 2, 3 o'clock to be ready because like what is happening now is people either will switch on radio or they will switch on their TV. But from us, I think once again, we've been able to deliver. And this is the trend as a national broadcaster that I believe we should be keeping. And you would have seen also from a television perspective, the quality of our studio ambience in terms of what the sets look like. We are full HD and the things are working the way they do. Naturally, when you would be moving and have moving visuals, if broadband connectivity is not strong enough, it might become jittery, but it happens everywhere.
Of course.
So, but as we are moving, we're hoping to improve on most of these things. But in terms of content, bringing it to everybody, both for radio, television, and online, I think we've been spot on.
Mr. Similo, a state funeral of this scale obviously requires a collective, national effort. What message do you have, for Namibians as they continue to follow the proceedings and prepare for the final farewell to the founding president?
I think one of the profound statements with which I want to respond to you, one or two of my presenters, reporters were saying, when you're covering an event of this nature, you become so emotionally involved that this story, that the lines might become blurred in terms of what you have to report on and in terms of what you need to feel. And part of what she was saying is that we are just human beings as well. So we are hoping as NBC that people will also see whatever we are portraying, we take with the great feelings that we have inside, so that they can experience exactly the same, with the same level of respect that goes with this. What I know is that Namibians are so united, as I was saying much earlier on. People started talking now, oh, I didn't know the founding was responsible for this. Oh, I didn't know that President Nujoma did this. Other people were telling his story. Other people came to testify. Other people came to tell what he meant to people individually, irrespective of rank. You had our senior politicians, ministers, we had business people, we had young people, we had artists.
Ambassadors.
You literally had everybody, including those that were taking care of him from a culinary perspective, all doing all the things that they need to. Last night, I once again watched the program that was done at UNISA, where former President Thabo Mbeki and them were speaking. And I was saying there, and I was saying, maybe as a country, I'm not too sure whether we appreciated the founding president for what he stood for and for what he was. But we have the opportunity now as we're moving forward so that we can engulf whatever he stood for and individually start living the dreams and the ideas that he's been having. And I was saying to myself, he had a dream. Part of that dream was for me to become most probably Director General. Imagine if it was not for his dream that he had, I most probably would never have been here. He had a dream that every kid in this country must go to school. He had a dream that we should be sitting here enjoying the freedom. Hence, all the routes that we took in all the regions. That was one way of saying, thank you, my people. I hope you have seen what I've done. And I'm hoping that as we move forward, you might have picked up one thing or two from me that you can learn from. So from our end as the NBC, we are really proud to be part of a process of making sure that people can connect with the one that has meant so much for all of us.
Well, Mr. Similo, on that note, thank you so much for joining us. Of course, I do concur that indeed, the role that the founding father played and the solid and peaceful foundation that he provided for Namibia is very strongly being reiterated as we cover these proceedings. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. And just in closing, we've also arranged with MultiChoice to open up the NBC signal from tomorrow and Saturday as well, so that the proceedings can go across the continent as well. Because as was said, the president was a father, not just to Namibia, but to many on the continent. So we're hoping to reach millions of those and even beyond.
Oh, that's fantastic news.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, that was Mr. Stanley Benjamin Similo, the Director General of the NBC, of course, speaking about the NBC's commitment to continue bringing you the best. And very great news that he just left us with, that DSTV viewers across Africa will be able to tune into channel 282 and watch all the proceedings as we continue to honor Namibia's hero and founding president, Dr. Sam Nujoma. We'll be back